Hey, what's up guys, Rockskull here, and if any of you watch my Overwatch content on this channel, you know I like goofing with the bots in that game. Now I decided to turn my eyes to Dead by Daylight's bots, because they are actually a big part of the game now. If you don't know already, if someone disconnects from a match, a bot will actually instantly replace the player. But do these bots actually do a good job replicating the average player's skill, or are they just big goofy goober dum-dums? In this video I'll be testing out various gameplay elements to see how these bots do. The first thing I wanted to test was just how they do in basic chases. I started out with Trapper on Cold Tower, where I just brute force chases to see how I'd do. No mind games or juking, just following directly behind wherever the survivor goes. So from what I found, the bots honestly do a decent job looping certain tiles and understanding when's the right time to drop a pallet. Like this Kate kept looping me around alongside a shack for a while, not using up any resources. Eventually, though, she makes what I would consider the wrong move and goes to drop the pallet instead of taking the window. This leads to her getting hit on these shorter window loops nearby, which I can easily catch up to her around. Basically, the bots do seem to do really well around most pallet loops, but when there is a window around, it seems to be a mixed bag. I think my tip to killer players here is just to brute force most things against them, but do jukes around the shorter tiles and windows. This is mainly because I tried doing mind games later, but the bots just predict everything you do perfectly since they seem to straight up have wall hacks. Another thing I want to point out here is just their general pathing. This seems like a mixed bag too, but mostly decent. Like when I break a pallet, they will go to the next nearby loop, but sometimes they just straight up go to the edge of the map where there is nothing and they easily go down. Another basic game aspect I wanted to test the next game is how the bots respond to basic killer swinging, mostly just to see if they would try to dodge at all or do things like 360s. First I just went up close to one of the bots and didn't do anything to see how they would respond. This Megbot did seem to do some slight juking when I was near. No 360s, but slowly doing some left and right juking, which eventually took her pathing to a nearby pallet to stun me. Not a bad response, I would say. Next I did a full-on swing a few times, and some of them I used coup de grace for the funsies. It seems very mixed on if the bots will do jukes or not on your swing, but I can definitely say it at least exists. Like you can see this Meg here actually do a juke back towards me sorta, away from the pallet trying to dodge my swing, and there seemed to be a little juke when I did a coup swing on her too. However, there were also times where I did a really big coup swing and the bots didn't do anything for dodging. So again, a very mixed bag here. Next test I wanted to do is to see how the bots would respond to getting the classic stinky things happening to them. Those being slugged, tunneled, and camped. First I just did some basic slugging by leaving the first person I downed on the ground. And it honestly took a while, but they did pick up the fellow bot eventually. Next I decided I was going to bully the Claudette to make her bot day not fun by tunneling and camping her out of the game. For tunneling, there didn't seem to be any response from the bots trying to body block or anything for the Claudette getting tunneled off hook. Very selfish. I also found for camping that the bots will unhook in front of you if they get by you, but when I started proxy camping near a hook in the corner, they were just way too scared to unhook this Claude, but still just roamed around the area around her. I honestly think this is the worst move that you can do when someone is getting camped. The smarter moves I would rather see the bots do, in my opinion, are to hook trade if the person is about to die, or just do gens if unhooking them seems impossible. The bots unfortunately seem to do neither of these things. They definitely get a D- overall in this category for me, only having an okay response to slugging. Now I wanted to test how the bots would do against different killer powers. Since there are just too many killers for me to test individually, I decided to divide it up into 5 categories. Those being trap, stealth, movement, range, and unique killer item powers. I'll have an individual killer to test each category, starting with Trapper of course for the traps. And oh man was this round a treat. So I started out by just placing a bunch of traps in normal and obvious places to see if the bots would disarm them. And this is what happened. So yeah, that one was a pretty fat no. Then I placed traps during chase to see how they would respond. And this I would say they actually succeeded in. As soon as I placed a trap, almost every time they just leave the loop. This is what I would consider the correct move. This next test though, oh boy was it tough for them. I found this perfect closed-in loop here that I just bombarded with traps. And conveniently, there was also a hook in the middle of it all. So let's see how the bots responded. I think it's safe to say that the bots just do not really understand the traps that well, only sometimes avoiding them during chase and disarming them on very rare occasions. It took almost the entire match, but I did see a bot actually disarm one. That was it though. Next thing was to test how they respond to stealth killers. For this I chose Bing Bong Boy Wraith, as he is the most basic stealth killer. Now I'd say the bots in general actually do a decent job against stealth, as they always responded to me quickly when I was near with cloak form. I did find some cheeky stalk tactics though, getting really close to them like through this fence. So I'm guessing the bots aren't programmed to see killers through these things. Perfect for stalking killers. I will say though, the bots do seem to break line of sight often during chase, so it may be tough to do it then. Now we got the movement category. This I used our speedy boy Hillbilly. This one was very interesting, as in the beginning it seemed like they weren't doing much at all for trying to juke my power. But as the match went on, they actually started kind of juicing me. They're doing some really nice jukes, and the match really started to feel like a normal game with how they were responding to things. Really well done by the bots in this one. I think the only tip to the killers in this category is just to be patient with things, and try not to be too fancy, as the bots can actually predict you extremely well at times, as you see here. You have to force them into scenarios where they pretty much have no options, like you turning a corner in overdrive. Next up we got the range test. Of course for this we were using Huntress. Now I gotta say straight away, these bots get like a 9 out of 10 on this one, similar to the movement category. They do minor and realistic jukes during chase, and almost always perfectly predicted when and where I was going to snipe. The only downfalls were just with the up close hatches, which just like normal survivors are almost impossible to dodge anyway. So again, similar to last time, the best choice here is just to get them in scenarios where no matter what, they're going to get hit by ranged attacks and can't dodge, like close range or max charged ones. Final thing I wanted to test was how the bots responded to unique items. For this I decided I should just use the recent new killer, the Lich, mostly because he has a lot of unique magic items that I'm curious if the bots will even utilize, and I'm happy to say they actually did use them. The bots interacted with the chest and got both hand and boot items, and one even got the hand of Vecna. The Kate actually used it mid-chase to teleport. I will say though, this was only after a little bit of encouragement, so it wasn't perfect, but she did use it. I think the conclusion for this category then is that the bots are probably programmed to use all killer items, but may not use them perfectly. Next up we got the totem section. In this I tested to see how the bots react to different totem situations. First off, the main two perks I start out with is Devour or Undying. I was very curious about this one since you don't really know if the killer has Devour until you get 3 stacks. But the bots actually surprised me and cleansed both my Undying and Devour with me only on 1 stack. They did have an obstacle of a trap in the way for one of them, which went how you would expect. I relit both totems with Pentimento as well, and they actually went back and cleansed those too. Another thing I realized with Pentimento is that the bots just don't interact with dull totems at all, which is probably for the best. Now the end game with my final perk, Noed, is where things got interesting. The bots just seemed to give me free downs at first, and opening the gates that start the timer when they definitely shouldn't have. One of the Nias just straight up left at one point, and they didn't even cleanse the Noed the entire time, even with me staying away from it on purpose. I guess the bots get a 7 out of 10 with this one, doing good in most totem scenarios, but the end game was just awful. The tip I have for killer players here is if you just somewhat hover around your totem, the bots will just not go near you, so you can pretty safely protect it that way. Otherwise, if you have a trapping power, it'll just be a free trigger spot. Also, if you're running Noed against bots, you clearly don't have to worry about anything, with them just seeming completely lost in endgame scenarios. Now the final thing I wanted to test here is if the bots got any unique teamwork skills when given items and such. Things like flashlight saves, pallet saves, and sabotaging in particular is what I was curious about. What I did was give 2 survivors flashlights with background player, and the other 2 have sabotage toolboxes with saboteur and background player. Unfortunately, it seemed like the bots just didn't want to do any saving. My guess is due to them just being too scared to be even close to the killer. I did see a bot sabotage once though, just for no reason, and the bots were actually crazy good at blinding me during chase, constantly doing it at windows and when I broke pallets. Stuff you would see in normal games, but these guys just have aimbot. Very scary with the flashlights indeed. I think the conclusion for me here is that the bots in DBD actually aren't as bad as I was expecting. They do a decent job against most killer powers, emphasis on most, and have some decent looping skills with their wall hacks and such. I do think they still need some improvements on pathing to prevent them running along the edges of the map, and also definite improvements to how they respond to endgame. My thoughts is that they need to learn when it is actually a good time to fully open a gate, and also when to cleanse Noed. I also think they should just go to save you in most cases and not just leave since they are freaking bots. It's not like they got accounts to grind BP for. Anyway, that's all I really had for this goofy video. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, and you can let me know your thoughts on the bots and DVD in the comments. Thank you all for the support as always, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.
Rock skull. All I want to do is stream all night. Lobby full, rock skull. Never gonna play with me, but it's alright.